Yeah, it looked like Yuki's force was done for. Even if there were survivors, none of them could ever escape that magic. It seemed like a few people were still safely outside its influence, but after seeing this tragedy unfold, they'd mostly lost their will to fight. Luck and curse or not, I doubted we could count on them for much. Given all that, Laplace's safety was actually pretty darn good news. Well, I'm glad you're okay, at least. Ah, don't bother. This is it for all our friends. He sounded unaffected, his voice flat, but I doubted he was too serene. Watching his friends get manipulated like this had to be infuriating. That much, I'm sure, was genuine. Instead of saying anything, I patted Laplace on the shoulder. He gave me a surprised look. But isn't it too early to give up? I asked, trying to sound naturally cheerful. Kagali's not dead or anything. If that guy Kondo is controlling her, we can just defeat the source to bring her back to normal. I'm sure Yuki's still fighting, too, so let's get over there and help them rise back up. Some of it might have been empty consolation, but it beats being all pessimistic about this. We can always wallow in despair later. What can we do right now? That's what's important. You're a funny guy, you know that. Saying the same kind of things my boss does. It's humans who persecuted and exiled us, and now it's humans who are gonna help us. Huh. What a pain. I thought I could detect Laplace smiling beneath his mask. I am a monster, you know. But yeah, slime or not, I used to be human. Maybe it's not worth bringing up, but... Hey, mind if I ask you something? What is it? What do you want to do as a demon lord? Oh, that. Well, my answer's been the same for a while. Ever since I was reincarnated into this world, I've only had one ambition. I'm gonna make it so we can all live happily together. That's why I've created this town, this nation, and built relationships with all these other nations. Beyond that, I'd like to value diversity and get along with everyone who shares in my tastes and interests. You're not thinking about taking over the world or whatever. Huh. Nah. Too much work. What? But if you conquer the world, you can do whatever you want with it. Yeah, but I'd get all bored, you know. The more ideas you come up with, the more possibilities that'll open up and the more fun you'll have creating fun stuff you never thought possible. Right. Laplace puzzled over my impassioned plea. Then he started waving his hands, as if in panic. That's crazy, man. What do I mean, fun stuff? I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about you taking over the world. He doesn't get it, does he? Well, what if I got to do whatever I wanted? Does that mean it's okay for me to execute mind control on people? Or do you think it's better to be controlled like Kagali is right now? No, but I think it's important that we preserve the rights to free speech, thought, and expression. That connects to respect for basic human rights overall. It creates diversity, and it's the driving force for all kinds of cultural development. Huh. That's just gonna create more selfish bastards, ain't it? You can't get people on the same page that way. How are you supposed to steer a country like that? He had a point. The greatest weakness of democracy, I think, lies in how to separate national interests from the feelings of individuals. But that counts as diversity, too. It's fine. We can figure out how to do it together later. I'm basically a selfish bastard, too, and I sure don't want this nation to go in a direction I'm not on board for. I'm perfectly fine being a big talker and nothing else. Rain, do not rule as the saying goes. I'll do what I've always done, and luckily for me, I have a lot of role models in this world. Luminous's way of using religion as a cover for her role and Ilmesia's positioning herself as absolute ruler up top were both helpful references. Still, I have a long way to go, so I didn't need to decide who I'd be right this minute. But that's why political issues and stuff can wait. Right now, what's more important is cultural development. Entertainment, you see. Without that, developing this country is pointless. This was a really key point, one I hoped would show up on the exams in our future history classes. If I wanted people to lead interesting lives, we needed to produce a ton of entertainment. That's why I didn't want any restrictions on people's ideas or speech. Laplace stared at me in puzzlement as I explained this. I don't get it. It's beyond my understanding. The boss. He promised me he'd conquer the world and make it a good place to live. That's why I believed in him. In Yuki. But what the hell's up with you? What do you mean? You're just mocking him, ain't ya? With that nammy-pammy stuff. I'm not mocking him, dude. I'm just saying that world domination doesn't sound as fun as you think. And it's a lot harder than you think, too. That finally silenced Laplace for a bit. Then. Yeah. I know that. He sat limply on the floor, his head turned toward the magical screen. There we saw that pile of bodies, Kagali standing in front of it. You asked what we were doing over there earlier, huh? Well, I'll tell ya. The biggest secret out there, but I'll tell ya. I think you know that we're all walking dead, but I'm gonna tell you about how she's gonna increase our numbers. Oh? Wait, this does sound important. Whoa, calm down. This isn't something you should be talking about in our dining hall, is it? Ah, who cares? Now ain't the time for that. You see, we were created by Lady Kagali's hand. That's what she was capable of as Curse Lord, gathering up the corpses of the dead and their lingering grudges to create a powerful magic board. It's called Dead Birthday, akin to forbidden curse magic. We call it a dining hall, but technically it's reserved for cabinet class officials. No civilians were in here, though I have to say, Laplace was really taking the plunge, revealing classified secrets in a place like this. The only people left were Rimuru, back from delivering orders, Zoe, Diablo, Sean, Hikuro, the 3 demonesses, and Vester, who had been watching the video feed with us. Gabble had also returned from giving orders at some point. This was serious stuff, but fortunately nobody was here who I didn't want listening in on it. Oh my, that spell name certainly brings back memories. You know it, Diablo. It was useful having such a magic nerd like Diablo around. Good thing he was familiar with this. The body I received from you, Sir Rimuru, was forged through an application of Dead Birthday. In my case, the body didn't come with a soul, but it was perfect for incarnating myself within. The original intent of the spell is to take at least 10,000 corpses, join them together, and take their powers for yourself. It was an inhumane kind of dark magic, a forbidden curse if I ever saw one. Of course, I'm kind of a serial soul stealer myself, but let's ignore that for now. So if Kagali here is trying to make their power her own, does she want to imbue the resulting body with the will of someone in particular? It depends, but I think it's safe to assume so. Yeah, Diablo's right. Footman, Tyr, and Clayman are all survivors from where Sir Kagali came from. Once they lost their homeland, they resorted to these forbidden arts so they'd never forget the humiliation. Sounds like my hunch was correct then. Which means that if they complete this spell, it'd be a pretty bad scene. There are, or were, around 60,000 people in the composite force. If you got that much material to work with, you could probably create at least 10 Walking Dead at Clayman's level. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And what's more, those 60,000 contain a lot of really strong folks. And unlike Footman and Tyr, they're gonna offer just a ton of easily controllable power, I asked Laplace to expand on that, which he did with visible disgust. As he put it, Footman and Tyr were still emotionally immature because they were swallowed up by the vast amounts of power running through them. When Kagali created his first Walking Dead, he wasn't too adept at allocating the right amount of power and souls to the right target. As a result, he gave those two far more power than they could hope to withstand. Then, learning from his mistakes, Kagali created Clayman, which became a resounding success. That being said, Tyr and Footman weren't exactly failures. Their immature minds led to some delays in intellectual growth, but they still wielded a lot of power. In fact, the pre-evolved Geld would probably have his work cut out for him against Footman. In light of that, in terms of fighting ability alone, they were an even greater success than Clayman himself. If you were to create power-oriented Walking Dead from a group of 60,000 corpses, Laplace estimated, the results would be condensed down to 6 or 7 people. This is an empire that didn't bat an eye at sacrificing 1 million troops to create even one awakened person. I'm sure they lost no sleep at all over doing this. Man, we were all kids back then, And Tyr still is a kid, pretty much, and that goes without saying for Footman, too. Only Clayman never really grew up, but then he went and got himself killed through his own stupid antics. Still, though, I don't think we did you guys wrong at all, Survival of the fittest, and all that. Only natural to want to test someone out if you don't trust them, and we sure don't give a crap about sacrificing others, if it'll expand our own powers. That's how I see it anyway. So you still want to join forces with me? He didn't have to tell me any of this, but he did. There was no point trying to deliberately agitate us with this. In fact, it'd be a really bad move. But if he was going through with this anyway. Don't kid yourself. I will never forgive you for inciting the orcs and destroying our Orcish homeland. But Sir Rimuru has decided to join forces with you, and I am in no position to refuse it. Rimuru is right. Just thinking about what happened to everyone in our homeland breaks my heart. But there is nothing I could do to you that would make me feel better. Only when we have a world where everyone can live in happiness, the world Sir Rimuru desires, will I lose my regrets. I'm sure you're trying to monopolize all the blame so we can take out our frustrations on you alone, but don't kid yourself. We'll need more than that to erase our anger. It's nothing small enough to be alleviated through torturing the likes of you. Yes, quite so. As you say, survival of the fittest is all that matters, and our inexperience at the time, most of all, was the culprit. I'm sure you've cried over your own inexperience at times, haven't you? And if you have, I'm sure you understand how we feel. Rimuru, Sean, Zoe, and Hikuro, the 4 of them loathed Laplace and his band, but they were still swallowing their pride, so we could all fight together. It's just that they couldn't forgive Laplace's gang for what they did, but they're trying to work through it. These ogres sure can be generous sometimes. I noticed that back when Geld first joined us, and I'm seeing it now. Alright. We haven't forgiven you, and I sure don't trust you completely, either, but for now we're allies. So let's forget our differences and just fight together, okay? Yeah. And you too, right? I want to save the boss and my president. So lend me a hand, won't you? Laplace bowed his head deeply. For once, he was being sincere, not at all his usual aloof self. If this was an act, I'd lose faith in other people for good. For now, at least, I wanted to trust him.